Hi, everyone. It's September 8th. We're doing a session today, an introduction session regarding cruises, specifically ocean cruises. It's part one of the series. We're going to do intro to river cruises, to all-inclusives, to FIT, escorted tours. We're going to do several of them, so be sure to follow up. So again, the first one, I got a lot of requests from people that may be selling all-inclusives, or they're new to the industry and they're looking to go into the cruise industry and start selling, right? I think that there are a lot of things that you need to know before you start selling the industry, and some of the things in the concept I wanted to bring bring up. So the first thing is for you guys to know who the players are. We have something that is called a contemporary mainstream brands, which are Royal Caribbean, Carnival Cruise Lines, Norwegian, and I will include MSC in this specific category. These would be the 4-star mainstream, mostly mega ships with lots of activities, lots of kids, lots of things. The second one would be the premium, the higher ones, which I will include Princess, Holland America, Cunard, Celebrity. So these would be a little higher end in terms of pricing, maybe a few more things included, less focus on water slides and activities for kids. It could well work for maybe older kids. You will find their itineraries that might be longer. Princess will have, and Princess in Holland, for example, you will find, even like a 20-30-day cruises. Again, smaller ships, different focus. Then you have the luxury brands, which I will include Azamara, Oceania, Windstar, Explora, which is a new brand. These companies are much smaller ships. The ratio of staff per person is lower. So if for example, on one of the mega ships, you will have one staff member for every 3 guests, on these specific ships, you will go closer to one to one. So more tentative, higher level of service, food normally, everything in terms of we'll call it classier, right? You won't find like large Broadway shows. You will find things that are more, opera, classic, things that are a little more higher end, right? That attract that market. And then we have what we call the ultra luxury. Ultra luxury will be Seabourn, will be Silver Seas, will be Regent. These are like the 6-star ships, technically almost everything all-inclusive. The tips, gratuities, butler service to everyone, alcohol is included. Many tours will be included as well. So that's the ultra luxury. And then we have some that are hybrids. So MSC started a concept a few years back on the Divina, which was called the Yacht Club, which is a concept of ship within a ship. Norwegian followed and brought the Haven, then Celebrity followed and brought the Retreat, and now Royal Caribbean on Wonder of the Seas brought their neighborhood suites. So the concept is going with the mainstream contemporary mega ship, lots of activities, lots of kids club, lots of activities, but to have a ship within a ship concept. Separate area. When you go in, it's kind of like a gated area. No one has access except for the people that are within the suites. Butler service. They have their own restaurant. They'll have priority where they're going to the shows on embarkation, which means when you get on or off the ship. They'll even have a lounge at the terminal for them to wait in. So it's kind of like the business class on a regular plane. It's more for, again, people that maybe travel, with maybe grandparents that travel with their family, large families. They want the ability to get away and have like a more higher end vacation, but still in the evening go and see the show, be a little bit with the grandkids. Okay, so that's the concept of ship within a ship. Again, it's available on MSC, on Norwegian, on Royal, on just on Wonder of the Seas, and Celebrity on the Edge class has the Retreat. And then the last thing, you'll have the uniques, the off ones, and I will include Disney, Virgin Voyages, Uncruise, Paul Gauguin, Club Med 2. These are unique concepts. They're not, Virgin is an adults only company, right? With a really different concept. Disney wants us to believe that it's for adults as well, but it's mostly, kids and everything that is in there. Uncruise is a very, very small cruise line that does a lot of expedition. Expedition travel is also kind of a concept. There's the Hurtigruten, I think, or whatever their name is, their German company, kind of similar concept with a lot of Antarctica, Galapagos expedition type. And Club Med has their sailboat, same with Windstar, I will probably put in the luxury category, but we can do that too. So these are the companies. When someone is reaching out to you and looking for something, you want to see where they fit within that rainbow of cruises. I've seen a lot of, comparisons of all-inclusives to cruise lines. So if a person wants the large, the Royal Caribbean Norwegian style, they're the people who would go to like a Royalton, like a Dreams, like something like that. And the more you go on the higher end, again, with the all-inclusive concepts or the Four Seasons, so you'll need to know and match the clientele that are coming to you to direct them to the right company. I know a lot of agents mostly sell the contemporary, the Norwegian Royal Celebrity, Royal Norwegian Carnival, but there's a lot of things out there. And of course, these three are the largest companies, the largest US companies, and they pretty much dominate the market. And also for you to know, Royal owns Celebrity, they own Silver Sea, Carnival owns Princess, they own Cunard, they own Holland, they own a lot of other company, P&Os. They have a lot of things under their brand. Same with Norwegian, that they own Oceania. So there's not too many players in the market, but there's a lot of companies. Any questions regarding the cruise lines? No, we'll continue. Okay, so I've mentioned a little bit that we're trying to take what we know from all-inclusives, if you are selling all-inclusives, and kind of transfer it. A lot of people are asking, or they've never cruised before, but they have done all-inclusive. So we want to go and be able to explain what the differences from an all-inclusive would be. And of course, the main thing would be, when you're doing an all-inclusive and you go to a resort, you are going to one place, only one place. It is a larger room, right? But it's just one place, one resort. When you're going on a cruise, for the most part, you board at one point. You get to go to different ports. For example, you can leave Miami or New York. You're going to stop in the Bahamas. You're going to stop in the Caribbean. It's what we called a very short, brief stop, right? It will be from 8, 9, 10 a.m. Then 5, 6, 7 max, you're back on the ship. So you'll have a few hours to explore the destination. You get a little bit of taste. Something that a lot of cruise lines promote, it says you only unpack once, right? You only unpack your suitcase once, you put it in your cabin, and then you get to stop at other destinations and see places, but the ship is moving. You're staying put. Main difference with what you are getting with all-inclusives versus a cruise lines are the meals and the beverages. In a cruise, for the most part, the dining room, there's a main dining room almost on all ships. And then it's 2 set dining times. Again, for the most part, there are exceptions to all the rules. There's some ships that do not have a main dining room. There are some ships that have 4 dining times. So whatever I'm saying, it's just for the most of them, but it would vary between some specific companies. But let's say you will have an early dining and a late dining. And the way that it works, you get to the dining room, you sit down, you are serviced, it's a menu, and then the meal, whatever is there, is included. Drinks, alcohol, sodas are normally not included. You will get filtered water, coffee, tea, some juices like orange juice, apple juice for the kids, stuff like that. That is, syrup, not freshly squeezed. And then, tea, hot chocolate, stuff like that is included. Everything else will be an extra charge, whether you will pay as you go or you purchase a beverage package. Beverage package has to be purchased for everyone in the cabin. So if you're purchasing a soda package and there's 4 people, you will have to pay for all 4 of them for the entire length of the cruise, because they know that people share. You can't just have one person. Same for alcohol as well. If you're traveling with kids, then the adults will get the alcohol, the kids will get the sodas. There are some exceptions to the rules where you can go to customer service and explain. Maybe your spouse is pregnant, maybe the spouse is in AA, maybe something they can't drink. There are some exceptions that you can request, but again, as a general rule, if you are purchasing the package has to be purchased for everyone in the cabin. And again, for the remaining of the cruise, you can't say today I want the alcohol package and tomorrow I do not. So people have to kind of calculate for themselves to decide if that's something that they would like to do with the something that they would like to, if it's worth their while. There was a question regarding kids under 5. It depends on the cruise line. Again, in general, over 3, I think it's automatically charges, but there are some exceptions. If the kids are really young, you can request, but most of these things have to happen on the cruise line itself. Again, there are some exceptions to the rules. Disney includes their soda package for everyone. Virgin includes the soda package for everyone, but for the most part, and of course the ultra luxury, everything's included. So again, as I've mentioned, the dinner or the main dining room is included. You also have a buffet on most of, especially on the large ships, you will have a buffet. The buffet is open almost the entire day. They do have breaks from breakfast to lunch, from lunch to dinner, and they do run a few things at night, but normally for the most part, they will close 2, 3 a.m. to reopen again in the morning. Again, there are some exceptions, but in general, the buffet is also included. You can go and eat as much as you want. So if people are asking, what's included, if it's breakfast, lunch, dinner, they can have 10 breakfasts if they wanted to. So what's not included on most cruise lines is the specialty dining restaurants, which again, in all-inclusives, as you probably know, most of them are included. Steakhouse, Italian. On the cruise lines, it's not included. There's a surcharge. Some charge a la carte. Some have dining plans. Some have ultimate dining plans where you purchase it for the entire cruise. But again, that's the main difference between an all-inclusive and something to, know to your clients, so they'll know what to expect when they're going on a cruise. Another thing that is a difference is the gratuities, the tips. the service charges. Every company calls it a little bit different. The gratuities are, how do you call, they're not mandatory, although cruise lines want to, they want you to feel that they're mandatory. The reason that that they're not mandatory, again, because these are tips. The tips, the way that it works, the cruise lines charge about $15, $16 per person per day, or technically per night. And it gets charged to your bill on a daily basis while on the cruise. People do have the option to prepay it in advance before they get on the ship through you or through the website. They can go and do that themselves. But if not, that's something that will get charged automatically. Now, a person has the ability or the option to go to customer service on the ship and request to adjust it. They can say, I would like to give more, I would like to give less, or I do not want to give any tips. I am giving it directly to the people. Now, it depends on where you are on the scale and depending on your clients. Something that you will need to know is the way that the gratuities are contributed or distributed throughout the ship is they give it to the people who are on the front end, people that you see, and they also give it to the people in the back that are washing dishes, that are cleaning the linens, that people that you don't see. So they say that it gets distributed to everyone and not just the people that you interact. So I don't recommend removing it, but I feel that it's important for people to know that it's something that is not mandatory, because you don't want an issue with clients coming back and, oh, you never told us, I saw other people, they said, I truly believe that the cruise lines should just increase the price of the cruise and include the gratuities in them, so everyone will have to pay it. But it's not how it works. They want the cruises to be $199, $299, and then everything just gets added on. But again, that's just so you'll know how the gratuities work. Something about the cruise price, the $199, the $299. In most cruises, in most dates, the cruise fare itself is what we call a loss leader. The cruise line loses money on the cruise fare. So if you're going off season and you're paying $2,000 to cruise for a week or $1,500 to cruise for a week, and you're not paying anything in addition, you're not buying the beverage package, you're not going to the casino, you're not buying excursions from them, the cruise line will lose money on it. The way that they make money is on things that you purchase on the ship. And again, on the additional packages, the way that it works, especially on the big ships that have a lot of things to offer, you will have in about a 7-night cruise, you will have about 2-3 sea days where you're on the ship, you're stuck on the ship. There's nothing else that you can do besides possibly purchasing stuff on the ship, which maybe it's a spa or the duty-free shopping or the casino or bingo or whatever they have there that you can purchase. It is, of course, possible to get on the cruise and have a zero balance at the end, right? It's really up to your clients or to you of how you want it, but most people tend to spend a little bit money on the ship. Okay, I've mentioned something about the short stops just to get a feel of the destination and possibly come back. That's again versus an all-inclusive that you stay in one place. You can maybe do multi-day tours or something like that. With the cruise, for the most part, it's just a stop for a couple of hours. There are exceptions. A lot of cruise lines, especially the premium ones. So you'll find it on Celebrity, you'll find it on Princess, you'll find longer cruises, which something that they call overnight ports. So the ship actually docks at port, you have an overnight, especially in Europe it happens, or maybe the smaller islands in the Caribbean. You will arrive at 8 a.m. and then leave maybe the next day at 7 p.m. I've seen it in Israel. I've seen it in all the places again that people maybe want to spend a little more time. And there's also a unique itinerary that is to Bermuda from the New York, Boston, Baltimore area. You actually cruise to Bermuda. The ship docks there for 3 days, and then it comes back. So it's a unique itinerary. It's only available in summer, fall, but it is available, and it is unique if someone is looking for, for something like that. A major difference between all-inclusive and a ship is what we call the drivable market. A lot of the cruise lines, there's a lot of ports out there, right? There's a New Orleans, there's a New York, we have the Miami, Fort Lauderdale, but besides that, there are a lot of, I think Carnival mentioned that maybe 60 or 70% of the US market is within 5-minute drive to a cruise port. So people can take, if they're willing to drive for 5 hours, they can take their car and get on a ship. It's easy, especially when the prices are really high for air. It's easy if you are close to me to get to Liberty, Cape Liberty. It's about half an hour drive, and to New York City, it's over the weekend, maybe 40 minutes, and I'm at the port. So it's very, very convenient. I don't need to get to the airport 2 hours prior to, and TSA security and everything. We highly recommend for people that we sell cruises to arrive 1 day before. So if I'm leaving out of Florida, I will arrive the night before, spend the night, and then leave the following day. But if you are in that drivable market, you can just get to the ship. There's a lot of places where you can just park overnight, for the length of the cruise, or maybe take an Uber or something like that. There are a lot of options for parking, same as for, regular trips that people do. One more thing is what we call the closed loop cruise, right? That's a concept. Closed loop cruise, meaning you are leaving a US port and you are coming back to the same port. That specific cruise, you are allowed to board the ship if you are a US citizen, you were born in the US, you have a US original birth certificate with the raid seal, plus an ID, a picture ID, a government issued ID, and then you do not need a passport. So if people do not have passports and they still want to cruise, although I highly recommend that they do get one, but it's not mandatory, they can get on a cruise in New York or Miami. Doesn't matter if it goes to Bermuda or Bahamas or Canada or wherever. You do not need a passport if you are cruising from one US port and coming back to the same US port. Okay, that's called the closed loop cruise. Another thing that I would like you guys to know is something that is called the Jones Act. The Jones Act is a very, very, very old law from, 1800s that is here to protect US Navy, US companies from outside companies that are coming in. Basically, the rule says that we can't operate a cruise from one US port to another US port, including, from Miami to Miami, without stopping in a foreign port. I don't know if you remember a few years back, we used to have something that was called cruises to nowhere, right? 2-night cruise, the ship would go somewhere and just double back. You won't see cruises that start in New York and finish in Florida. You won't see cruises, even the cruises that go from LA, San Francisco to Hawaii, you will see them stopping in Mexico. So they'll make a stop in Mexico and then they'll head back too. Again, part of the reason, it's a very, very old law rule that was actually kind of, they took it away a little bit regarding the Alaska cruises that left Seattle. because the cruises had to stop in Canada. That's why, again, when you see still cruises from Seattle, you'll always see a stop in Victoria on the way back. The law says you still have to stop in a foreign port, which is Canada in that specific situation. So yes, Vicky, you do not need a passport to get out of the ship. I don't know if you had the chance to cruise, but wherever you are stopping, when you get from the port, they do not ask for a passport. They will ask for a government issued ID when you get back to the ship, because you clear you go outside of the ship, you go and you roam the city. When you come back, there is the authority of the port. You will need to show your ship card and an ID. It doesn't have to be a passport. People are saying that if there's issues and you get stuck there and things like that, which I'm probably gonna hopefully touch on, it's best to have a passport, because to fly back. But we've had situations where there was something in Cozumel that one of the ships got stuck and there were issues, and the cruise lines were able to bring back people even without passports. Again, I highly recommend that everyone have a passport, but if that's an issue, they can't get a passport, they still want to cruise next month and there is no way to get a passport or something, it's okay. Now there are some cruise lines, Virgin's official policy is that you need a passport, but they will let you on even without. You can call and get some sort of a waiver. Most companies will allow you to travel without a passport. There are some that require. Again, to every rule there's an exception, so always take a look, but just in general, you can do that. And by saying exception, there's one ship, there's literally one ship except for on cruise, which again they're unique, but one ship in the US that can actually start and end in a US port without stopping in any other foreign port. Anyone knows what ship is that?
Is that the one that goes loops Hawaii?
Yes.
Norwegian?
Correct. So Pride of America is the only ship that is allowed to do the only ocean liner, we'll call it. That can do that. And you know what the reason why it's allowed?
Too far to get to another country.
Well, yes, but what other cruise lines do, they start from LA on a very long trip. They stop in Mexico and they end up in Honolulu. So it's doable. But Norwegian has the option to do it on Pride of America because Pride of America is the only cruise ship that carries a US flag. It was technically built in the US. It's a US ship. It's the only one that has a US flag, although it wasn't really built in the US, just finished. Just the last couple of things were finished in the US, but it carries a US flag. The employees on that ship they need to have a US visa, work visas, or most of them are Americans. So if you get on the ship, you will see that the ship is really different in terms of the staffing, the people, the casino, if whatever is over there, because gambling is not really allowed there. The alcohol beverage package is different. Everything is different because it's a US ship. Okay, so again, to every rule there is an exception. So if someone says, just so you'll know what's out there.
Roy, how is that as a tour? Have you done that?
Look, they are at a unique position where they are the only ones who do it. So I would say that it is not the ultimate cruise experience if you're comparing it to others. The service is a little lacking, the ship's a little weird, feels a bit old, but there's no one else that does it. So if you want to do a 7-night out of Honolulu round trip and do overnights in these things and you don't have the 2 weeks, or you want to do the one way, you really have no choice. So it's not a bad product. It's just a very, very different product.
I had some clients that did it as well, Roy, and I would agree with you. They were unhappy with the service compared to the traditional cruising. They really noticed it. But because they get to go to the Hawaiian Islands, it kind of compensated for it. But they did talk a lot about the American staff versus the international staff and the things that were available to them.
Yeah. So setting expectations, again, it's a different and unique product. Okay, let's see, accessibility on the ship, right? The ship compared to an all-inclusive, right? A lot of these all-inclusives are really large. There's a lot of places to get to, lots of stairs to get to the beach, to get to everywhere. On a ship, you will find that it's relatively very, very accessible. There are a lot of handicap accessible rooms that are, the entrance is a little larger, the bathroom's a little larger. To get to the balcony, they have a ramp. A lot of people, especially on the Holland America Princess, on off-peak times, you will see a lot of people, the older people, with a lot of walkers, a lot of wheelchairs. I have a picture of one cruise that I took with Holland America. When you enter the dining room, there's like a parking lot for all the walkers and all the wheels, and it's different, right? I mean, but it is very accessible. If you have people that have mobility issues, although I mean there are large ships and there are small ships, but in general, it tends to be fairly easy. Another advantage is that you can pick your own room. So a difference from a resort, you know, for the most part, again, there are some exceptions, but for the most part, you can't pick your room when you're staying at the resort. When you book a cruise, your room is assigned, right? You pick the cabin, you can look at what we call the deck plan. There's a deck plan for every ship. You can see where the room is located, how close it is from the elevator. We have people wanting to be close to the dining room, the buffet, closer to, you know, the kids club or far away from the kids club. There's a lot of options, but you do have the options to do that in advance. And a lot of, you know, the common questions and a lot of requests are to see how we can pick the best cabin, right? The midship cabin, the magical cabin that will have no movement of the ship and is away from the casino or the disco or I can tell you there is no magical room, right? You will feel the vibration of the ship and the motion of the water. No matter if you're on Wonder of the Seas, which is the largest ship in the world, you will still feel the motion of the ship, motion of the, you know, the water. It really depends on where you're going. You will see that in the Mediterranean, or even Alaska, where you go to the, you know, the inner, it's less, it's the ocean is less volatile, so it's more calm. But in general, if you're doing a transatlantic cruise, if you are going specific areas where the water is rough and there are waves, you will feel it no matter where you are on the ship. Yes, some people want to be midship because, you know, maybe closer to everything. It's a possibility, but you know, people tend to say that midship and not too high of a floor. So let's say the big ships have 16, 17 floors. If you stay on the 8, 9, 10 deck midship, you will feel it a little bit less. But also remember, and I also tell clients, look, the dining rooms are on deck 3, 4. The theater is all the way to the back. So unless you are going to stay always in your room, you will feel the vibration, you know, you will feel it, right? It is what it is. So just, again, set expectations, tell people you will feel the vibration of the ship. It's not going to be horrible. But, you know, there's some people, I've had clients that went on a ship and threw up for almost a 7-night cruise, and it doesn't really help. You know, there's nothing that you can do. You can have a suite on the best place in on the ship and we'll still feel the motions. People ask for maybe recommendation of medicine and stuff. Of course, I refer them to a doctor or to whatever. There's some, you know, things that people can take, ginger, lemon, stuff like that, that helps these pressure points, stickers. There's a lot of options. I'm not a doctor, so you go and, consult, but there are some options. If you are afraid of, motion sickness, it's your first cruise, you don't know how you're going to react. I highly recommend that you reach out to, medical profession and just ask. They will maybe write you some pills or, something, but I don't make any recommendation as to, what to purchase. Okay. So the ships, the way that the ships work, there is something that they call the sister ship, right? A ship is something that costs tens of millions of dollars. When a ship is built, they have a mold of how they build the ship. They will normally build more than one ship that fits that mold. So behind us, it's a Norwegian ship, right? That's the Anchor. The Anchor, the Bliss, the Joy are identical. What's different is some of the maybe a brown carpet versus a blue carpet. The whole of the ship, it just looks a little bit different. The shows on the ship are going to be different, but the ship itself is identical. Same for, Oasis has Wonder, Symphony, Harmony. All of these ships, they're identical. The newer ships might have something, right? The Wonder of the Seas has another TV somewhere that they don't have. Edge, you'll learn to know, but if you know one class of ship, you technically know all of them. Again, some exceptions to the rules, but in general, it makes it easy for people. So if they've been on the Getaway with Norwegian, you can easily sell them the Breakaway. If you love the Getaway, you go on Breakaway. The shows are different, but it's kind of the same feel if you like it. If you go on Wonder of the Seas today and you go on Wonder of the Seas in 4 months, you're going to see the same shows again. So if you want to rotate, you better pick the same, and you love that specific ship type, then you go with their sister ship. They'll have different shows. Even if they do the same itinerary and it's the same technically ship, it's going to be a different experience. So we talked about picking your own cabin, right? When you book, you can hold the cabin. There is something that is called guarantee, right? Guarantee category. It's normally the cheapest room available within that category. And by category, I mean we have inside rooms. We have ocean view rooms that are window rooms and a window that does not open. Okay, so inside, window, balcony, and let's say suites. Okay, let's say these are the 4 categories. On some of the larger ships, you will have interior windows, interior balconies. There's some, weird things depending on the ship, but in general, inside, window, balcony, suites. The cheapest inside room would be something that they called guarantee cabin. Guarantee means we guarantee that you will get an inside room. I don't know where it's going to be. I don't know the location. The cruise line will assign the cabin for you. Whatever is left, the leftovers at the end, that's what you're going to get. If you're a family with, traveling together, you pick 2 cabins. Yes, you saw the cruise cost $2,000 on the website. I'm selling it to you for $2,500 because if I put you in 2,000, you guys will not be next to each other. You won't be on the same deck. I don't even know where they're going to be, so there's no way to guarantee it, although it's called guarantee. Okay, so guarantee only means I can guarantee the type of room that you will get, but I don't know where it's going to be. I've seen guarantee rooms get assigned even before I make the deposit, and I've seen them 5 days before the cruise. So there is no rule as to when the cabin will get assigned. For the most part, is a couple of weeks after final payment. But there are some exceptions. I've seen them even before we applied the deposit, and some that just way closer to the actual cruise. Now, again, the way that it works with cruises versus all-inclusive, assuming you don't have to fly to get to the port, the cruise itself in general has a deposit. The deposit can be per person or per cabin. For the most part, the deposit is refundable. And then final payment is normally due about 90 days before the cruise starts. So if I want to book something right now for Christmas, right, it's I still can put a refundable deposit, nothing, no commitment. I put a deposit of, normally it's about $500 a cabin or $100 a person or $200 a person. I can put that deposit and I can change my mind up to the final payment date, which is mostly 90 days prior to. It's an option to utilize that as a good sales technique, right? We're looking into maybe possibly booking for next summer. We're not sure yet. Look, we have this great promotion right now. All you need to do is put a $500 refundable deposit. There is no risk to you. So let's put the deposit in case you change your mind. We're looking into June, right? So you have until end of March to change your mind, and you can cancel and get a full money back, no penalty, right? It helps maybe to put something, and of course, it also creates, a different effect where people can just go ahead and book, and then 3 months prior to, they change their mind and say, oh, no, we decided we're not going to go. It doesn't work for us, right? So it has, again, depends on how you want to look at it. It's good and bad. Some cruise lines do offer non-refundable deposits, which normally makes the cruise cheaper. But yeah, it depends if you want it or you don't want it, or how you utilize it. One more thing with the pick your own cabin that we did, since you get to pick your own cabin and you have people traveling together, you can put them side by side, or in some cases away from each other. We've had these requests as well. Make sure that you're on different sides of the ship. And of course, the ships will also have connecting cabins. So there is a door that connects in between. In most ships that have regular balconies, the balconies can connect. There is a divider between, as you can see on the back that I have here. All of the balconies have a divider between them. You can go and request people to the room steward to remove the divider, and then the balcony will connect. So you can go and see your friends or sit together on the balcony, in case you don't want a connecting room, right, with the door in the middle. So we've had people where we booked, 4 or 5 cabins all together. They open up the whole chain, and that could be fun for, a group of friends traveling together. So that's the advantage with the connecting, and of course with guarantee, and we don't know where you are going to be. Any questions on anything that I've mentioned so far? Not yet. Okay.
Sorry, I just had one, which was, where is the best place to look for I'm calling it the floor plan, but as you're looking at the room locations, because I know, like, I've been on, I guess it's like Cruising Power and trying to look at that, but are there other sites or somewhere that's
on Royal Caribbean, you will find for every cruise line, you will find a web page for the specific ship, and then they will have a deck plan. You can also go to Google and write name of the ship deck plan. You will find links to all the deck plans, and you could see they're color coded. So it's kind of like how an airline tickets, the classes. Mm-hmm. So you will see, it gets complicated, but in general, the higher the price is, the midship higher floor it would go. So they could start
like midship as a preferred location. Yes. On the ship. Okay.
A lot of people prefer the midship because there is some sort of a conception that you will feel less of the movement, but there's also a disadvantage because it's normally a high traffic area. People get out of the elevators, they'll go by your rooms all the time. When you go to the front of the ship, you will be closer to several areas, but far from the other. And when you're midship, you're technically far from your mid, it's could be good, it could be bad, right? Some people prefer to be on the same deck where the kids club is and relatively close. They can drop the kids while they go and go to dinner. Or again, it's a preference. I've seen it all. But the midships tend to be the more desirable. I again normally look at the deck plan. I look above, I look below. I make sure that this specific room only has rooms on top of it and below it. You do not want to be under the pool. You will hear a lot of noise when, during the day, from the music, from people speaking out, on the top, in the evening when they take all the chairs, in the morning when they put all the chairs. So you don't want to be on the deck right below the pool. You don't want to be next to, again, as they said, the nightclub, a lot of dining venues, dinner. You do not want to be close to that, away from public areas. Normally, you will find that normally deck 9 to 12, 13, 14, 13, some ships don't have deck 13 because it's bad luck, but let's say 9 to 12 are normally the ideal midship, and these are going to be the more expensive options. And normally, as you will see, the deck plan, some rooms are designated for 2, some rooms are designated for 3 and 4, although all the rooms, the standard rooms, are the same. It's just whether they have a sofa bed that opens. Some of them will have like a bunk bed, a Pullman, so it comes out of the ceiling and kind of creates a bunk bed. So that's an option, room for 3, 4. You will see that it's a lot of the way that the ship is the deck plan. You'll see room for 2, room for 3, room for 2, room for 3, and then maybe room for 2, room for 4. You won't see a lot of 2s together. It's mostly because it's families, right? They know it's the problem of families of 5. People want to be next to each other. It's normally the 2s and the 3s. These are the easier ones to find next to each other's. The 2 and the 2s are pretty hard to find, and they're normally on the lower decks. But you can find them, and you can take a look at all the deck plans just to see what's out there. One more thing for the best location, we get a lot of requests for people who want port side, and when they say port side, they think that's the side where you will dock at the port, right? Port side, there in cruise verbiage is the left side, right? The port side, the left side of the ship. But as you can see the ship in the back. This us cruising on the Anchor in Alaska. We docked on the right. So yes, port. You see the other side, the left side. You see, and I mean, if that was ocean on that side, you couldn't see anything. So a lot of people ask for the left side, the port side, because they think that's where the ship will stop, because they want to see the destination of what they stopped and not the ocean. You never know. The ship can dock one way or be in reverse. It depends on the specific dock that they're going to connect to. So if you want the port side, I will give you the left side, right? That's the port side, but I can't guarantee that that's going to be the port side. Okay. One more thing with stops. There is a concept that is called using the tugboats. How do you call the tender? So the big ships, especially in smaller ports, you'll find it a lot. We've done it in Iceland. You have it in a lot of, again, the large ships can't go to a lot of the islands in Greece. I've seen it in Grand Turk and then in Grand Cayman. The big ships just can't dock because they're too big. What they do is they stop in the middle of the ocean. I mean, closer to. They have the emergency boats. They take them down, and you go with the small tender boats to the port and back. So you have to take into consideration another 10, 15 minutes of, small boat getting back into. When you look at the itineraries, you will see where it will say docked or it will say tender. If it says tender, that means you're going to take the smaller boats. If you have people with mobility issues, if you have people to take a look, right? It could be an issue for them. There are some ships like the Celebrity Edge class, which has the amazing, they take the magic carpet down, and their ships are really nice, the small ones. And I mean, it's really great. But if you go to one of the older ships, maybe in Cabo, it's even on the luxury ones, they take the really, really small boats to get you to the port, and a lot of people don't like it. So to some, it's kind of like an excursion and it's fun, but something to take a look and to know when it says tender, it's going to be the small boats that will get you to the ship, to the port and the ship. We talked about gratuities. Insurance, same as with tour operators, you have the option to book the insurance of the cruise line versus the insurance of a third party. Even if you're cruising out of Miami, the cruise, the location is not considered domestic. So if you have your own policy, health policy, it will not cover you on the ship. Ships normally have a doctor and a medical facility. They will charge you a fee to see you, and then you have to claim it with insurance. The most expensive thing with the ship is what they call the medevac, medical evacuation. I've done 31 cruises. I have had medical emergency on each and every one of them, 100%. Each and every one of the cruises that I've been on had medical evacuation. There's always one on the ship. I don't know, because they cater to the older crowd, because people eat too much, drink too much, whatever too much. There's always an issue that could cost you, probably starting at $25,000 to $40,000 to get the helicopter to get to the ship, and then whatever. So I highly, highly recommend that you tell people to get travel insurance. If they have their own credit card, whatever, just check the medevac. You don't need $1 million in medical evacuation. 100,000 is enough. Most of them will have $500,000, but just so you all know, that's the biggest issue. And mostly it's cardiac. So mostly older people or people who are, obese or something, that tends to happen. Again, drink too much, eat too much. Yeah. So insurance, as always, highly recommended for anything and everything. You do have the cruise lines, and you do have the third party. And there are, of course, differences with the products. Yes.
And the cruise line insurance offerings, they will include the medevac in their policy, right? Okay.
Yes. Similar to the tour operators, most of the insurance by the cruise line is covered for any reason, but you only get 70% or 90%, depends on the policy that you purchase. And these policies are price driven. They're not, so if you have older people, they're not age based. So if the cruise is 2,000, it's going to cost X. If it's 5,000, it's going to cost 2.5X. It doesn't matter if you're 20 or 90. So sometimes it makes sense. Concept that is called OBC, onboard credit. I'm sure you've seen it before. Onboard credit is just money that you can use on the ship. most of the time it cannot be used at the casino, cannot be used as gratuities. You can use it for almost anything else. You can use it at the spa, you can use it to buy a beverage, get an excursion, anything and everything, again, besides paying for the gratuities or play within the casino. Onboard credit is giving as a promotion from the cruise lines most of the time. Think about it, it's money that they give you for you to spend on the ship. So they're giving you $100, they technically only gave you like 50, right? Because they make profit on whatever you're purchasing. So it's an easy promotion for them to give. A lot of groups have onboard credit as promotion. Some agents provide onboard credit as promotion. Some onboard credit will appear way before the cruise. And if you purchase things in advance, like internet, that I haven't touched on internet issues, you can apply the onboard credit in advance. Some onboard credit will only appear on the second day of the ship. So if a person arrives on the ship, I just arrived, I checked my account, I don't see the onboard credit, wait until the evening of the second day, it should appear. If it doesn't, let me know, or go to customer service or something. That's a good time for them to maybe show the confirmation or something that they had showing the onboard credit to the guest relations on the ship. But again, normally wait until the evening of the second night and then it will show. Okay. I think that I will wrap it up here. I still have more, so I think I will do a second session, maybe like a part 2 on it. Anyone have any questions?
I did post a question. So on insurance, you obviously, in fact, I remember seeing your photos of the helicopter from one of your last cruises. I know some of the providers, insurance providers, have cruise-specific insurance as an option. Do you generally suggest people get cruise-specific or overall insurance?
It's not common. I've seen them. They normally have specific features like higher medevacs. They'll have issues when, again, if you're taking a European cruise, maybe you want a higher medevac because maybe they want to transport you back to the US, right? Versus Bahamas and stuff, it's going to be less, but if you're in Europe or in Asia, maybe. There are some insurances that will cover excursions if you miss the port, or if you missed your ship, or there's some things that have a little bit of features that are mostly for ships, but for the most part, it's a very, very similar plan. And I haven't touched excursions, but I will, let's say, in the next session. But in general, it's just check the policy, what's included. If it's significantly more expensive, sometimes they'll just add, they'll put like $1 million in, medical evacuation. It's really not needed. And there's no really point for it. So just compare the product.